Sure, and for viewers who haven't attended meetings, and that's the first and third Tuesday of every month.
Right.
For viewers who haven't attended, at 6 o'clock, and it's there at the big Judicial Center there in Conway. Easy to find, and it's clearly open to the public.
Absolutely.
A guest recently had shared that public input's a real important facet, and there's a lot of other things that happen at meetings that people may not know about.
By ordinance, I think it is. We have 30 minutes at the beginning of each meeting. Sometimes we used to do it later in the meeting early on in my council career. But we take the first 30 minutes after the invocation and the pledge, and we set the agenda and approve the minutes. Then we have 30 minutes of public comment. And if you sign up ahead of time, up until the day before that meeting, you just call and get your name on the list and the topic. You get 5 minutes.
Wow.
You get to talk about anything. If you're an Horry County resident, whatever you want to talk about. My only rule is you don't make personal attacks. And you don't call people by name and badmouth them.
Let alone a council member, sure.
Yes, right. You just don't get personal about it. But you can talk in general, and sometimes the general is fairly specific. Because they're yelling about a council district or the chairman. But that's okay. People deserve to have a voice. Government needs to be open. And if we are sitting up there doing the job that we're doing, then we need to be able to take the heat as well as the good things.
I love it. I love it. Speaking of that, I was visiting, separate from Horry County, but a personal website, LizGilland.com, and there were some great frequently asked questions on there, but a lot of them were what are probably oftentimes heard by you as personal attacks, where they're claiming this or that, some crazy stuff. But the great thing is you take them head on. You either sit back and listen to them and take them in, write them out, and then make sure you take the time to respond to them. Think about them, and that's important.
I haven't paid attention to that website since the last election, so they're old questions, but some of them are still very pertinent.
Very definitely.
But I will say one thing, too. When I came on council as chairman, when I could have a little more say in things, I elected to do away as much as possible with any executive sessions.
Sure, if you were real quick, executive session means what? I mean, what's the significance?
Means council goes into executive session, we get up and go into a private room, and only those that we invite in can come. And we talk. When I was on council for years, it was a set part of the agenda. I finally told the clerk to take it off the agenda altogether because we went for so long without having one. But we would go behind closed doors and discuss government policies and issues for, sometimes it was over an hour. And then come back and everyone would have left and the audience on television would have gone to sleep or gone to bed or started watching something else, and then we would, say whatever we needed to do out in front. But it really was. And things that were often discussed that shouldn't have been. So I said, we're just not going to do it anymore unless we absolutely have to. There are only a few times that we absolutely have to. And honestly, we've had one executive session in the last 3.5 years.
Is that right?
And when we came out from executive session, I could not remember the little lines I was supposed to say to bring us out and what we were supposed to do. It was really kind of humorous if anybody watched. It lasted about 15 minutes. It was a personnel issue. But that and contractual issues, when the county is in a contractual relationship with another entity, you can't, in any contractual issue, folks will know you can't lay all your stuff on the table and let the other side know when you're trying to bargain for the best place you can get, especially if you're doing it for the people. But we've managed to do that fairly rarely as well.
That's wonderful.
So I'm pretty pleased about that. That is not only rare, it is so extremely rare that other council members that I speak with from other places say to me, how do you do it? And I just said, I believe in open government. We try to do everything right out there in the public, warts and all.
And you even felt that way when you didn't have control as the chairman. You felt that way. It's difficult, though. I mean, the chairman, essentially, you do set the agenda, is that correct? You said whether or not that's going to happen or not.
And council members can vote to have one anyway, and on any issue on the agenda, they can vote, if they really want to have an uprising, they can vote to suspend the rules and do something that I think is not the best thing. And that has been done.
It ultimately all comes down to numbers. But either you can count or not. It's just, 6 to 5, or...
Actually, it's 12 of us, so it's... 6 to 6 is still considered a defeat for whatever the issue is. If you get a 6-6 vote, it fails. If the majority didn't pass it. But that's still more awkward than it should be. And if I had my druthers, county council would be 9 people. We would save tons of money, tons of trees, because everybody has to get a copy of everything, a lot of time, because everybody wouldn't have to have camera time, and we could run just as effectively. But it would take a council vote and then a public affirmation by a vote. And it's hard to get politicians to vote to do away with their jobs.
Much like it is on redistricting oftentimes,
Sure.
as folks are crafting up congressional districts,
Cutting
or even
out
their
what
own
their
House
best,
and
where their
Senate
strengths and
districts.
weaknesses,
Absolutely.
cut them out.
That's
Yeah.
another very difficult thing for folks to work through, and something we really
Right.
do need some better public input and better involvement
Sure.
of lots of folks on redistricting, whether on
Yeah.
the federal or the state level. So much has to happen. Obviously, economic development, a big piece. You've
Sure.
served now on council. What year did you actually join county council, Liz?
January of 95.
January of 95,
Yeah.
so just
So I'm getting ready to
12
start.
years and starting your 13th, right, in
14th.
January of 90, I'm not very good, let's see, of 2008,
13th?
that'll be
I'm not good at math either, but it's
95,
been-
that'll be, that's
seems
right,
like a
13
lifetime.
years, yeah. In January of 2008, which is very exciting, that it's
Yes.
right around the bend there,
That's
and
right.
obviously to
right.
think about so many activities that have to happen on council there, and recognizing the importance of really getting out. Do you feel like you've changed much over the 12, soon to be 13 years of service?
I've changed in the amount of time I spend at my job, because I always vowed I would never lose my life in my job, whether in pursuit of riches or in pursuit of whatever job, but I've sort of done that. It's sucked most of my personal time away. But when it comes to who I am, I don't think so. And I even have said to my friends early on, if you ever see me changing because of this job, you get in my face,
Right.
because I will quit
Good.
before I change. Because, not that I was perfect or am perfect, but I was comfortable in my own skin, and I still am, which is why I'm much more blunt than most politicians. If you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you the truth. If you ask me how I feel, I'm going to tell you, and I won't tell you and turn around and tell the person that feels the other way what he wants to
Right,
hear.
right.
Life's too short. I don't
Yeah,
have time, and
sure.
I won't lie, because I'm getting to the age that I have too hard a time remembering. So I can't have but one story.
Good for
but that,
you, yeah.
I just,
You still feel comfortable with these 6 words, the work hard, play
That's been my
fair,
slogan.
stay honest.
The
Work
only-
hard, play fair, stay honest.
The only campaign promises I know I can uphold
Right.
are ones that pertain to me, because
Yeah.
otherwise it's a majority vote.
Sure, good point.
I'm not dictator.
That's a great
I
point.
can promise to work hard, and I do, to play fair, and I do, or at least I think I do, and stay honest, and I have. And, I look at the political season, which we're in the middle of now, nationally, and we soon will be statewide, and I roll my eyes at political promises and campaign speeches, because I am just an ordinary person who has an extraordinary job. But campaign promises, don't believe them.
I like it. That's very easy, Liz. Now, I wonder why
Yeah.
more council or potential councilmen and women
Well.
don't take the time to step back and say, boy, Liz has got it right on. I need to just go with that. That would surely make the billboards and the signs a lot
Absolutely.
easier.
Well, and
No
I always
extra
do the little
promises
tiny
there.
signs with the big Liz, and by
Yeah.
now people know. So,
Yes.
I bring to the table who I am and what I know, and how I've changed is I know so much more about things that I never wanted to know before.
Right.
I know about building roads and infrastructure and weep holes and berms and all sorts of terms with
Right.
development and
Right.
and things about budgets.
Right.
But it's good knowledge because I put it to use.
Oh, yeah.
And I can tell a new council member when they come up with a great idea, you know what? Think about it first, because here's what happened when we had that good idea 5 years ago.
Right.
This is why it crashed and burned and it didn't work, and have you ever thought of this? And they'll go, ooh, I'm glad I asked you first. Because been there, done that.
Right, right.
And there are some things that seem like a good idea when you're on the outside looking in. I'm going to cut taxes. I'm going to
yeah.
cut out the fat. You get into this job and you find there's not a whole lot of fat.
Right.
We squeeze to meet the budget each year, and there is an extreme reluctance in Horry County to ever raise taxes. And I've always been accused of being a tax and spender. Of course, as an English major, I look at the terms and I think, well, of course, you don't tax and keep. That's the purpose of
That's
taxes
right.
is to spend it on public service
Right.
and doing the things that government has to do, is mandated to do, and is expected to do. And what we do when we don't raise taxes is we raise other things, and
Right.
then we start cutting services.
Right.
Sometimes it's unseen, but sometimes it's very obvious. The millage that we have currently is less than the millage when I started on council.
In 95.
It's we've risen a little bit at a time, but we keep rolling back in assessment years. But we also squeeze the dollars well. And when I say tax increase and can vote for a tax increase, that might be in an extreme. We've not done this.
Right.
2.5 meals. If you have a $100,000 house, that's $10 a year.
Yeah, yeah.
$200,000 a house, double that. And for the poor folks, they either don't own their homes or they can't afford $10 a year. That's less than a pizza, and it may mean another ambulance or two. It
Right.
may, because that's $1,600,000. That's a lot.
Doesn't sound like you're not
money.
good with numbers, Liz.
Well, I've
You
had
were
to learn
most
a
proud
few.
of what during your tenure on council, Liz?
We don't fight among ourselves before the cameras anymore. We're not ugly. I won't let them be. And of course, since I'm the chairman, and they can no longer be ugly to the chairman, and I was kind of the beanbag dummy for a while that got beat on. We look more professional. We act more professional. And so hopefully we are more professional.
Yeah.
I also brought 2 new ideas. One is we have a fall retreat. We'd always had a winter budget retreat, and we focused only on that year. We never looked up to see what the future held, so you never had plans. I tried to do that. It has sort of evolved into more of a mid-year check.
Yeah.
Where are we with our money? What are new things that have come up? Where are we ahead of where we thought we'd be? Where are we behind? What are we going to start needing to look at for next year's budget?
We're going to have to get you in another time to give us that second
I'm
one,
sorry.
Liz. Thank you so much for being
Greg,
with us this
thanks.
morning. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
Next Tuesday, absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People, the Honorable Liz Gilland, coming up next. We were running out of time. I cut her off before she had a chance to highlight that second one, the State of the County address. I wanted to ask her if she was still planning one this year. She gave me the date, January 22nd. Write that down. It's a Tuesday, January 22nd, 6 p.m. One of those 2 amazing initiatives that have been kicked off in the State of the County address will be held. Tune in to HTC or Time Warner, or get out there. Be there at the Judicial Center. You heard her say it. Work hard, play fair, and stay honest. She made the wrap real easy for us this morning. Check her out. Show up at the council meetings. Be a part of your government. It is your government, and she's your chairman.